Right. Dawn, are you ready to roll? Okay, I'm not hearing anything.
Yep, she's ready.
Okay, so I'll give you a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Hey. Hello, and welcome to another Educative in VR meetup. Who are we? Well, over there, there's a little thing saying Educative in VR. Your mind may flip over to watching the amazing transparent micro LED screen that's next to it, but that's just an accident. You're meant to concentrate on Educative in VR and all the Discord and Facebook and YouTube and URL links to go and see that. On this side, list of teams and team projects, and we are the virtual hardware team. So Mitch and I and Dawn have been having a fun time watching all the news reports out of the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, and we picked out some of the fun stuff, which is to do with VR and AR, 3D, and all the good stuff around that, headsets generally. So,
yeah, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
I agree, all the good stuff.
All the good stuff.
All right, so
what do you want to do?
We're going to just do a sort of, well, we're going to do a parade around this little area. You can see we've got a few different waypoints set up. So, Mark, you lead off because that first one is one that you created. And then,
okay, so
we'll take it as we go.
I'll keep using a tablet over time, so I don't mind that. But come over here to AR land. So I've got a couple of posters and models about the best of the augmented reality headsets that turned up at CES. And this is a big push by XReal. XReal are getting themselves a lot of good publicity at the moment by going around saying that they are a leading AR headset manufacturer and everybody should buy themselves an XReal pair of AR glasses. This is a sort of generic model of an AR glasses, but the one they're pushing now, not actually yet released, is the XReal Air 2 Ultra. Having a little bit of trouble with their naming conventions, I feel. There, €800, coming out later in the year. And this one is interesting because it's a real attempt to be an augmented reality glasses. Now, a lot of these you see the little camera lenses here are for taking pictures, but these ones on the Nreal Air 2 Ultra are going to be monitoring your room, i.e. they will be looking at your room and building a mesh of your room so that you can do fun augmented reality things, such as having virtual pets running around your room or putting posters on your wall. That little bit here where it says, oh, we're going to be able to do spatial anchors is what it means by that. With spatial anchors, a developer can put a fixed point in your room and hang something on it. So they could say, oh, I know the wall is over there. In the middle of the wall, I will put an anchor, and then it can put any picture upon the anchor. And then as you move around the room, the picture stays in the same place. Go, Mitch.
Mark, not to stop your flow there, but I was going to say this is one of those features that is really important for education, because this is really where the idea of this as a device that you can use in a shared classroom becomes, it takes another leap and becomes a really different proposition than just everybody watching, their own big screen projected in front of their eyes.
Yeah, because that's what XReal used to be. Basically, XReal is absolutely great for watching movies or YouTube or something like that, but they don't have a great deal of software. I'm not sure that's going to change, unfortunately. They've got a little bit here saying they've got a software development kit 2.2 is going to come out. I did some querying on their Discord channel. That software development kit is going to be quite proprietary. It's not using any of the standard augmented reality features. They will have to, whoever is going to use it will have to specifically write in X-Real type language. And they've not had a great deal of luck in getting people to move onto the X-Real environment and write software so far. So I'm not quite sure why this is going to be any different. But hey, we'll go where we are. Other useful thing to know over here is how large the field of view is. And augmented reality constantly have a problem with field of view in that it's smaller than the VR headsets. So if you are in a Quest, or certainly in the Quest 3 at the moment, you will see this sort of blue line, a sort of big oval in front of you. But the X-Real Air 2 Ultra can only do that sort of rectangular field of view, which I think means it sort of looks like a big TV in your room. And outside of that space, you don't see anything augmented at all. So not ideal, but they're getting quite a lot of press coverage. They're doing quite well. The other one, there's a lot like these. These are birdbath optics. It's projected down from the top and then reflects 90 degrees into your eye. So we're going to go around the other side of this poster, or straight through it if you prefer. Whee! And take a look at another augmented reality headset which made a bit of a splash. Okay, so please come around the other side. Need a few more people. Yep, got Bruce, Dawn's there. Okay, right. Why is this different? Well, it's not a birdbath optics. This is the TCL Ray Neo X2 Lite. Again, terrible naming conventions they've got here. Nobody likes going above the word number 2, really. This is waveguide optics. And the big thing that this one has, and people are excited for this headset to come out in Q3 of this year, is that it is completely standalone. The previous one we looked at, the X-Real, needed a cable to your telephone. This one doesn't. This one is completely standalone. You just put it on, and this is the form factor that everybody's after. You know, what you need as a form factor is just a slightly bulky pair of sunglasses, and people won't look at you like you're really weird in the street. They'll just go, "Oh, bad sunglasses," you know. But they've go ahead, Mitch.
I was going to say they sit on the nose more naturally. That's really noticeable with this set, don't you think? They just sort of sit down on the nose.
Yeah,
more naturally.
The birdbath ones are usually a little bit further forward than you'd like.
Yeah,
for a pair of glasses.
That's where that goofiness can come from.
Yeah, a little bit of check on what they can do here. It's using the XR2 Gen 1, which is the same, I think, as the Quest 1 headset. Its cameras will do photography, which probably means that it won't do very good augmented reality, but it will do some augmented reality. They have a video out on their website saying what wonderful things you would do with a guy on a bicycle cycling around his town, saying, "Oh yes, I'm diverted over here. I can see this. I can get little messages. It can give me directions." You do wonder how good the Wi-Fi is in his town, but he's going to use these wonderful Wi-Fi glasses. But maybe he's Wi-Fiing to a hotspot in his.
He lives in a town called Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. He lives in Wi-Fi. They also say they're going to have a little ring type attachment accessory, which you would use for being a pointer. So you will be able to have some type of controller system, just a little ring on one of your fingers, and use that as a pointer. So all of this is very exciting, looks great. The both in the industry are quite keen for it to come out, but there is a downside. And the downside is the field of view is awful. Really, really, really bad. So we did the X-Real Air 2 Ultra, and on the other side, I probably said that was quite small, like a widescreen TV. The Ray Neo X2 is inside of that at a lousy 27 degrees field of view. Ouch. That's really dragging us back. You do think that if Magic Leap could bring themselves to build hardware anymore and make a Magic Leap 3, with it making a little bit more like a pair of glasses than wacky goggles, then they could take this market. But they've all gone off into enterprise land at the moment, so not to be. Just mentioned a couple of others that came out in AR land, which is, why not just have a laptop which is just a keyboard and a pair of AR glasses? This is Spacetop, which is just a rather underpowered keyboard and a sort of Chromebook hidden inside the keyboard. And I think it's an X-Real type glasses, X-Real Lite probably, attached to that with a cable there. And they got a bit of publicity. And a few people said, well, that was very, very underpowered if you want to have a laptop type event.
So,
and
Mark, just a question on this one.
Of other folks who will do birdbath optics for you, because now everybody knows how to do that. So Asus is bringing out one, but it didn't seem to have anything at all, which is an addition to what X-Real do. So you think if X-Real's already got half the market or so, which is what they're claiming, I don't know where Asus or Viture or the other people bringing out both sort of their AR birdbath optics are going to go with it. Okay, anybody got any questions on augmented reality stuff or new things in augmented reality they've seen?
I have.
Please feel free to speak up.
I know I'm the co-host here, but the Spacetop one, that's actually a revamp of a product that they kind of they didn't productize it before, but they announced it before, didn't they?
I've sort of heard of Spacetop before. I don't think I ever really dove
went from a concept to a product.
Yeah. So this is.
Yeah, okay.
I'm fairly sure this is a named version of an X-Real headset, probably the Lite, but it could be the Air, and I think it probably only works with that. And I think they've got their own operating system of a variety of a Chrome operating system, but it is definitely a product now.
Is it a 3DOF, or is it going to have a fixed? Is it going to have some way of fixing the virtual screen in space?
Under the older headset, it's going to be a 3 degrees of freedom.
Yeah. Okay. That really doesn't sound very attractive at all, does it?
It's an idea which is close to okay, but you think, well, why not use a MacBook and just plug in the best augmented reality headset you can get? Which is, I think, possible the Spacetop, though,
the reason for it, and kind of like listening to kind of some of the stuff, was really securities, is so that you can end up kind of having kind of some glasses on, kind of work on your documents, work kind of remotely, and if you're working on something like a train or a plane, that no other can look at what you're doing. So that was the kind of the idea. Lenovo have kind of had something similar with kind of like their glasses for enterprise, but again, like you're saying, they're equivalent of like an X-Real. They're nothing kind of, they're great as just an additional monitor, but they're not really kind of like anything pushing off into that 3DOF or kind of anything in augmented. It's just almost like a fixed screen through glasses.
Yeah, so it's a good basic concept, but I just don't think it's got the power and the desirability to go anywhere, really.
Mark, can I ask you a question?
Sure, go ahead.
Did you happen to see anything there that's pretty exciting in relationship to portable eye tracking devices?
No, I didn't come across anything on that.
Do any of these glasses here provide bio?
There's a laptop that will do further up, which does some nice eye tracking.
Thanks.
But nothing on the glasses side. They're struggling to do all the things they need to do without going as far as worrying about eye tracking, unfortunately. Okay, so let's go on and take a quick look at transparent TV.
Yeah, Bruce, yeah.
The one thing that Meta are going to be releasing kind of their concept kind of, I think, this year for developers, just to show what they can do. But I think from what I've heard is that they're augmented like glasses, which are in essence kind of Ray-Bans, kind of like version 7 or something like that, that it's just going to be a very proof of concept. Only a few developers are going to be able to have, but the hardware involved in them is something that's going to be groundbreaking, but it's not going to be financially viable to kind of create for the time being. So this is where they're going to be releasing kind of as a concept what these glasses can do, and kind of show kind of like that they can actually build them, but the costs are going to be something that's going to be astronomical, that they're not going to release to sell at all. And it's going to be, this is what could happen in 5 years' time.
It will be nice to see, and we'll probably cover it when they give any details. Unfortunately, as you say, they haven't really given much. Just saying it's going to be wow. Well, almost everybody says that. Here's something wow. Come and look at some transparent TVs. Not really relevant, but I put in transparent TVs. Here's a transparent one in the bottom. Look, you can see Mitch through it. Mitch is on TV. And then above that is Samsung's little GIF of Samsung showing off their transparent TV, and they showed a sort of paint video on it to say how that's wonderful. And LG have the same, and they, can you tell, is that tree through the TV or is it on the screen? You can't tell because it looks the same. And I only brought this up because when I saw that, I said to myself, well, if you can do a transparent screen, why isn't everybody using that in AR glasses? And it's not the same technology. And I flew over to the Upload VR forum and said, why aren't people looking through the same transparent screens as these? And they said it was all to do with a focus problem, in that all the AR glasses you get at the moment, you see through a lens, because you have to make the screen seem further away so that you can focus on it. And if you had this type of screen, then you wouldn't be able to focus on it because it would be too close to your face. And that all the AR glasses you see at the moment, whether they're waveguide or birdbath optics, push the AR aspect further away from you by lenses. And if you did this type of screen and pushed it further away with a lens, you'd also push away the reality that you see behind it further away with a lens, and it all becomes an optical nightmare, apparently. I'm not completely convinced that somebody can't do something with that, but right now, apparently not.
Imagine what that would do.
Here?
No, it doesn't look like. Imagine what that would do to our eyesight. This is kind of an open question, I guess, is, as they develop different technologies, we may not really know what it does until a longer time frame has elapsed.
There's a long-term problem with all VR and AR called virgin surface accommodation, which means that you're focusing by changing the size of the lens in the eye is different from the focusing by moving your right and left eye to point at the same thing. And that has always been an issue, and is going to be a continuing issue until Meta produce one of their ultra expensive headsets, which can apparently get around that problem. But right now, this would show it even worse if you did this. So there you go. See-through TVs not going to solve any of the world's problems.
Maybe it'll solve some problems for some interior designers.
Yeah, so Sarah was asking about, so this little section here is going to be on 3D without putting any glasses on at all. And we're going to go around the back to begin with. So come through this little gap here, please. And I'm a bit jammed in, so I'll just show you what we've got. A few more folks round. Okay, so the Aspire 3D Spatial Labs Edition is a perfectly decent sounding laptop, GPU 4050, Intel i7, but the monitor display is a 3D monitor display. It tracks your eyes, so it can only work for one person doing eye tracking, and it has Whisperit got a partnership with Leia and the LoomPad people to give them the technology to then display in 3D. So that's auto stereoscopy, a coming thing, but at a reasonable price. It's, what is it, $1,400 US for a perfectly decent laptop with a 3D display, but you don't have to wear glasses for. So that is quite nice. I may actually buy one because I'm daft like that.
I can think that salespeople might find this product pretty interesting, because if you're doing a demo, and often the demo resides on a laptop because they're out and about visiting people in the real world. If you can have that added extra of, the demonstration might involve something to do with space and time and an object that you need to look around, etc. Just the ability to have it coming out. If it's a really good effect, if it's quite a convincing effect, that would be pretty compelling idea. I think
it'll be relatively convincing because we know the technology. It's just I'm pleasantly surprised we've got it down to a decent price. And Sarah was asking that needed eye tracking to make it work, because it has to know where your eyes are to send different images to your eyes.
Oh, actually, can I jump in there?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's not quite what I meant. What I meant was, like, for instance, Toby. So portable eye tracking devices that you can put on your students so that you can kind of get a sense of their cognitive load while they're reading, for instance, like that.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
No, I haven't come across that one. Not what I was looking particularly.
Okay,
we could
thanks.
have a hunt.
Roger that.
Yeah. People who haven't got the price down is Samsung. They say they can do a 3D monitor. It's slightly different technology again. It's lenticular parallax. But again, they do eye tracking to send a different image to each eye. And they say they can do it and it's wonderful. And no, they can't quote you a price, which is bad news, isn't it? So, in things you could think about buying, I'm thinking about buying this one. And I foolishly already bought this one. Come back over to this side. I've mentioned this in a talk before. This is the Looking Glass Go. Let me just change the screen on this. Where can I change the screen?
This amazing technology. I think this is going to be a sleeper product. Like, a lot of people will find this and think, you know what, this is really cool. I'm going to use this for, point-to-point sending photos or things like that. Seems like a nice object, a nice thing for your home. Like if you were sending photos to your grandparents or something, that might be a nice kind of
Yep. So as
a nice thing to have.
we move to stereoscopic photography, but even more to stereo video, this device can show this sort of stuff off really well. Looking Glass Go already have a product called the Looking Glass Portrait, and it can do pretty well the same sort of thing as this, but it cost $1,000 or so, and they've made a slim, lightweight one in Kickstarter at $250 it was, and they've linked up with one of the photogrammetry apps, Luma AI, and say, well, if you take a piece of photogrammetry, then we will be able to port your photogrammetry over to this Looking Glass Go, and you will see it in 3D. What I've got on the screen of that nice angel flipping backwards and forwards is just a desperate attempt to visualize this. You can't visualize it any sensible way in Engage that I can really think of, but I'm trying to give you the fact that what you will get will be about 50 different images, maybe 100 different images, depending what angle you are looking at the picture. And I need to restart that and put it on loop.
Is it photogrammetry, or could you show like Gaussian splats or anything like that on it, do you think?
Right, quite right. Actually, this one is a Gaussian splat. So
okay, cool.
I think you could do both. I think anything you could do either a point cloud or a mesh. I think both of them work. In effect, you just need to be able to split it into 50 or 100 different images, so you can see it at different angles. Yep. Okay, so I said this one's quite interesting. I've mentioned hopefully it will take off fairly well. The price point is just jolly good, and whether they can then link it and use it for a 3D chat or something like that, that would be quite interesting.
When you're actually looking at it, like is it rotating like that? Is it set up so that
no? I'm just trying to give the fact that there are going to be multiple images, so it would look like that if you try to move the hardware in front of you.
So you would be able to sort of.
You'd look at it from different angles and you would see different images.
Sides.
Therefore, each eye would be getting different images, and therefore it would look 3D.
Any idea about the resolution of it, like the sharpness of it? Because it's such an interesting idea that more than one person can stand around the same object.
I think. No, I don't think I know too much about the sharpness, unfortunately. And we really need somebody from the stereography group I go to who have one of these. Those who bought the previous ones rave about them, but I said they were more expensive beforehand. I do know that the images will only go out about 90 degrees or so. So if you're outside my arms here, you probably wouldn't see it. Sarah wouldn't see it, say, but Bruce would.
Is it a file format that they upload? Is it like an FBX and stuff that you'd end up looking at?
It's called a quilt. It's really just
another one.
50 or 100 different images stuck together in a big file format. But yes, I'm afraid they invented their own file format as well. We have what the world didn't need with another file format.
Exactly. I don't know how the two things would converge, but what it made me think of was the codec avatars. You remember the conversation between Lex Friedman and Mark Zuckerberg that was on the podcast? Imagine if we have some way to capture the video live in our homes. Imagine looking at one of these and having a conversation.
Yeah, I think actually they may well have a virtual assistant type thing, a little model. Somebody stands inside the tablet and the screen, and you have a chat with a tiny little model person. I can't recall whether that was just a mock-up or whether it's a real thing.
Well, I heard an interview with Faith Hill the other day, and she's representing a company called Portal. And their product is sort of like a big box, I think, that you project holographically inside it. So the idea is that the kind of use case she gave as an example was imagine you're high-ranking executive CEO, something like that, and you need to have a meeting with all of your staff, and they're distributed across hundreds of stores or something like that. You can have these portal devices that can go out and appear, they can essentially make you appear live in person.
As long as you don't get too close to them. Up on a stage, you might believe it's 3D, but that's just a good video effect. They are, in fact, just big TVs.
Exactly. But nonetheless, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 different types of technologies trying to crack the same problem, which is this idea of the next level of telepresence. I mean, we're doing it now, right? But obviously our avatars are pretty low poly and not
and we're having to wear headsets or glasses or something on our heads. These are trying to crack the same problem, but saying, oh, let's just make it accessible to a wider audience by saying you don't have to put anything extra on your head. You just need to buy our kit, guys.
When I was at CES, I saw a company called Holobox. And that was kind of what you were talking about, I think, like by HoloConnects. And I don't know whether you agreed it's kind of maybe a little bit like a screen inside it, but their attempt to try and do like a full body holographic looking person live. So they were actually like acting it out live behind the box. But I think they've done a demo before where they've showed someone somewhere else and then the box has been somewhere else. Was really interesting.
And haven't Google done the same sort of thing with their box?
I don't think it's real 3D stuff, and the stereography group I go to gets very uptight about this one. Says they're just foolish. They're just trying to make it pretend that it's 3D when it is not. They want for the real 3D.
Okay, Bruce.
Yeah, no, I think that Google have done something similar with kind of their 3D kind of box, basically Starlight, a communication box.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but Google had their communication box. You were being watched by 50 or 100 cameras at the same time, which was why last time I saw it wasn't going anywhere, because it needed an immense amount of hardware to do the capture of who you are.
I don't know. It was like, I think Marcus Brownlee and kind of like some other people have tried it, and it was kind of like small enough to fit in the home. But it was just that you end up having to get into kind of like with this screen, and it would kind of take you against the black background or something, and then you would end up being projected across kind of the other person's box. I've forgotten the name of what it is, but Google kind of really did champion something like that.
Well, at least Google could work on the algorithm of shifting back quantity of data, which will be a problem in the future as well. You know, if you want to send live data, which is 3D, you have to get multiple angles. So you're going to have to think of a way to do that as efficiently as possible. Mitch, I think I'm going to hand over to you.
Let's move on. Now, look at this absolute beauty over here. Look at the nice 1980s sharp edges on the design, and looks like it's, no, I'm just kidding. It's obviously a entirely squeezed model that I just found. And I see Tyrone, you're probably looking at I can see your name tag says reality in VR, so you're probably looking at that scan and shrieking in horror inside yourself, mate. But I just grabbed it off the internet.
Fine.
But
we don't want to crash the room.
Exactly. But not much to say about this really, except that we all know that it's sort of opening day tomorrow, so to speak, or the pre-orders begin, and it's going to be shipping. It's going to be in the world. People will be regular people, not just the media who've had their hands on it in the last couple of weeks, will be giving us their actual reviews of it. And I think a lot of the reviews are going to be glowing, and some people will be really harsh, and we'll face a pretty interesting mix of reviews, I think. But the thing that I think is kind of most interesting about this is this idea of the battery. And you can see in the model here that there's just this cord that ends nowhere. The battery is the sort of thing that you hear about it, but you don't really hear enough about it. The idea that there's this big silver puck that you've got to put somewhere, and every time you don this on your head and take it off again, you're going to have to, juggle this thing that's hanging off a little 1 meter cord. We'll if we have them, we'll probably become very adept at doing that. but that is the one feature that I think is underreported. It's going to be something that people really don't like. Maybe that's just my opinion, but I'm interested to hear if anyone else has thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I've got an opinion on it from the standpoint of, after obviously it was announced last year in May, I think initially we all just got starry-eyed if we were really like interested in this, mythical beast that was coming at some point. But I think the more recent reviews, or should we say try-ons from people, and specifically Marques Brownlee turned around and said 3 occasions he's tried it on, he kept going back to the fact that the front of it is heavy. Or in his opinion, it's heavy. And I think that actually Apple were never going to make this device out of anything other than premium materials. So it was basically a trade-off of, we want it to be a premium made product. If we stick the battery in it, it's going to be unworldly heavy. So I think really they didn't have a lot of choice, I think, if they were going to not make it out of plastic.
I think that was one of the things,
agree with
isn't
what
it,
you're saying.
That's right, isn't it? One of the things that Carmack was saying about VR headsets, about reducing friction, kind of reducing weight, and to kind of look at potentially kind of taking the batteries away from like headsets. But you can do that with, if you end up looking at a Quest, which is plastic, and dropping the weight from like 500 grams down to, because they're saying about, 25% is kind of battery. So if you end up dropping that down to 400, 300, then you get something that's kind of getting almost as light as the big screen. But it's kind of something that you would have that external battery pack. Is it going to be hot swappable? What's the kind of the issue with, if that kind of magnetic kind of thing falls off, are you going to be losing kind of like your kind of engagement? I know that Tyrone's probably known more with kind of like HTC stuff with their hot swappable battery packs and stuff, of how they've got a limited kind of time that they can take a battery pack off and put a new one on. It's just that you don't want something to fall off and then it die.
Yeah, exactly. There's this other thing to sort of say about it too, is we're now seeing the full spectrum. Okay, so Meta has decided to go for the Toyota Camry end of the spectrum, and Apple, I mean, they really are the company that can do this. So why don't they? Why wouldn't they do this? They've decided to go for the Ferrari end of the spectrum. Maybe not Ferrari, but Mercedes, BMW, high quality, higher, luxury brand kind of idea. So it just seems like a natural fit in the end. And I mean, I'm so excited to see what happens. Does it really actually push the needle one way or the other? Do we end up saying spatial computing and no one ever mentions VR again, ever? I don't know.
I think one of the things that's really interesting.
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry. Go. All I was going to say really briefly, because I'll let you talk, is very much about the fact that people have kind of overlooked the fact that Apple have made a point of saying this can be powered by the mains, and if you are going to be just watching movies at home or other entertainment, or you're going to be productive in an office, how much movement are you really going to have wearing that headset? And is that battery pack just a way to just untether you for short periods of time, or if it's trying to watch something on a plane or something like that? Because I think if you do position yourself statically, you might as well be getting used to a tether anyway that's in your pocket. You just have the tether that's connected to the mains.
Yeah. Look, in a plane makes total sense to me. I actually am I'm the kind of person who doesn't like plane travel very much. I think it's a bit savage these days. And so if I was able to disappear into a movie, really disappear into another space, interrupted only by someone gently tapping me on the arm to say, "Do you want a drink?" I would probably do that. I would probably go for that.
I'm one of those freaks that have been doing it since Gear VR.
Right.
And I've not really been that bothered about anyone, honestly. If anything, everybody else is in their own world on a tablet or an iPad or a laptop or what's on the screen. I've just gone, well, if you want to look at me funny, you can, but I know I'm not on board the plane anymore. I'm away.
I think one of the really interesting things in Upload kind of VR kind of said it about the Vision Pro is it's going to be like the Tesla moment. It's going to be like when they have them in the Apple stores. It's going to be this expensive item that people are going to want to try and kind of have a look at. But it may be kind of like 5 years down the line when kind of reiterations are coming and it's going, actually, this is where it's affordable, or it can help with kind of people like Meta with the lower end of going, actually, I've tried this, I like the idea, let's jump into something. So I think that they were saying it's like that Tesla moment of go to the showroom, try out this really expensive kind of high quality bit of kit, but then it's kind of like either wait or kind of look at what the alternatives are.
Yeah, well put. Hey guys, this is great conversation. I'm so glad you're all here today, and we're having a good old chinwag about all this good tech. Come on, we'll change tack now, and we'll look at, this is just a little 3-in-1 because these ones I thought we'll go through these pretty quickly. The full face tracker is pretty interesting product, I think. And Sarah, you asked a question about eye tracking. Now, I'm not sure if they use Toby. Right. Someone else might know if Vive are using Toby as their software product, but I think perhaps they're using something custom. But here's an example of a product, and you can see it down the bottom corner where actually it snaps in. I'm just going to pull up another little picture here because I did grab another pic of this. So the idea of how it fits in is you can buy the Vive XR Elite and you can buy a little add-on. And you can also buy the Vive trackers. And this is really catering to this idea of, there's people out there who want to fully express themselves and they want to become VTubers, famous VTubers. They want to be fully present in VR chat. This is obviously a big enough market that they can address it by putting all this effort in to build a product. Let me make this a bit bigger.
Yeah, Tyrone, I know you said you don't mind how people look at you, but are you willing to put on this false nose just so that you could have your face tracked?
It's actually funny because I did think you can look like a baby elephant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mitch, can I ask some questions about this real quick? Thanks. So I'm wondering, have you what did you find out about how you would process this biofeedback? Like, is there a corresponding software program that kind of has uses heat maps or do they have a corresponding piece like that you noticed? Thanks.
You can Vive have something called Vive Wave, which is a kind of an open, inverted commas, way of accessing the data. So it's for developers to develop software products, I think. But what that means, obviously, is that you can see, you can see and interpret what's coming off there. So it's a very technical question, I think, Sarah. It may be a bit beyond my expertise.
I'll do some research. Thanks.
But the key to it will be if it's proprietary software or not, because something that is open, you may find that it's only open to a certain extent. Like, it doesn't give you access to all of the kind of raw data that's coming off the machine. It might be a case that it's formatting some of the data so that you can see it for, perhaps reinterpreting it into Unreal or Unity, something like that. The one we'll talk about in a second might yield a bit more interest, but that's not even a product yet, so we'll come to that in a sec. The immersed visor, I reckon, is kind of like a bit like the Looking Glass Go. This is going to garner a fair bit of interest because it's priced under $1,000. I think it's actually priced $750 if you buy the kind of base model. And again, it's that whole thing of, I'm going to put it on in the plane. I'm going to have all my big screens around me, laptop in front of me, even perhaps just a tablet or something even smaller. I'm not sure if it needs to run off a laptop. But, and it looks pretty cool. They've got the Oakley blade styling down. They've got a nice flat kind of finish to it. So that's going to appeal to a certain type of person, I think, the way that it looks.
I'm looked closely enough at this. Is it cabled? Do we have to cable it, or is it Wi-Fi?
Yeah, no, it's cabled for sure. They just didn't include it in the picture, but on the end, I think, is where you'll see a USB-C. You'll see a USB-C port, and then you plug it directly into a laptop. I would imagine people are going to buy this to plug into a laptop, because if you had it at home, maybe as a space saver at home, but most people have probably got a couple of screens on their gaming computer if that's what they've got at home or work. Now the one next to it is this company Shiftall is such an oddball company, but I love them because they just keep coming back, and they've got a new product every time, and they put it out there, and it's invariably, you can see from both of these pictures, this one and this one. This was the Megane X, the previous year's version. Came out in Japan, was released in Japan, but never released elsewhere. You can see on that little photo that it's actually just a Photoshop. The person's not even wearing it. The same with this one. The person's not really even wearing that. It's just a very kind of
Photoshopped
VR job.
Were quite scathing about the photoshopped picture, because apparently the Megane X1 that they're actually going to ship has been shown at CES and doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah, it didn't have the front faceplate, that nice curved bit on the front. Because what's happening is the behind that are the sensors for the lighthouse communications. So it uses steam lighthouse trackers. So it's very similar to the big screen Beyond product. And I guess immersed visor is similar in a way, but they're not really focusing on the 6DoF aspect, I don't think. They're focusing on, just this is a big screen extender. But you can see here, again, Sarah, this might interest you. You can see this image down the bottom. Those little lights that go around the bottom there mean that it's doing eye tracking. So it's possible that they're going to introduce some kind of look and pinch interaction, which is going to become very popular because of the Apple Vision Pro. So it's so interesting because there's the Sony product we're going to talk about in 1 second, which has yet another way of interacting. So, people are pushing the envelope. We're not just going to have these controllers. They're sort of half and half game controllers in our hands. We're going to do some very different things in the future. All right, let's go on to the, let's have a bit of a step back in time to the old Google Daydream behind us. Anyone have one of these? This was
we had one in our office.
I think Alex will be pulling out his hair, kind of like when he be kind of showing old kind of VR systems, like how
he hangs up he hangs up all his old relics on his wall at home.
It's just how he's a vigilante on LinkedIn. When anyone posts kind of a picture of an old headset, it's just how he's kind of like straight away with a comment.
Oh, that was me starting that off. I apologize, but I cannot see people wearing phone holder VR headsets from like a gas station or a petrol station anymore. I can't. It drives me mad. You'd never do it with a phone. You'd never put like a BlackBerry on for updating you on up-to-date phone news. So I just don't know why people do it with VR headsets. Anyway, that's
you never know. I mean, vinyl came back, right? And so people were DJing on vinyl, and so one of the days people drag these out and they'll say, you know what, guys, remember back in the day when we used to slip our phone in the side? That was cool.
Well, as soon as I see more people with Vision Pros on planes, I'll get my Gear VR out again.
Got it, Jed. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Got to tell you why I did this, just because I was thinking, okay, well, this is kind of an interesting. This is like the Samsung Qualcomm. What are we going to call it? The Samsung Google, the Qualcomm Samsung machine. And if you come around the back, you can see there's a picture of the reference design inside it, and you know, that is a much more impressive looking beast, right? Come on into the headset, you'll see. That's a reference design made by, come and stand in the middle and have a look from the other side. And so some of the specs that they've pulled out for this are pretty outrageous, and they're getting close in terms of the, they're not actually close to the M1 and the R1 of Apple Vision Pro, but in terms of what it can potentially do, you know, there's almost a bridging of the gap there. The Snapdragon chip is a lot lower power, but the output of it, or the punch that it's giving, is really impressive. And so, yeah, remember, this is just a reference platform, so it probably won't look like that, but some of the features here will probably find their way, in particular, into the Samsung Google product. Now, we don't have any leaked pictures yet, and Tyrone, interestingly, the leaked picture that I did find looked like one of those phone slide-in VR headsets. But,
oh dear.
you know, yeah. But remember, this is two companies which have had at least some, you know, some pedigree in the field. That we've had Google Glass, goes back a long way. We've had Daydream. We've had all of the AR core features, I guess you could call them. Or, you know, there's a lot of in-house knowledge from the Google side. And then Samsung have had Gear VR. They've had Samsung Odyssey. So they're not starting from nothing. They're starting from perhaps further back than some of the other companies, but, you know, big companies that have lots of engineering clout, lots of production, lots of what's the word? Engineering clout. So whatever product they come out with is not going to be, you know, a meh product. I think it's going to have a pretty good impact. And I think, yeah, has Google done a co-production before? I'm not sure. I guess all of their Daydream stuff was some kind of co-production. But and Samsung was, I guess, a co-production with Windows Mixed Reality, but, you know, that was a platform that a lot of people adopted at one time. All right. So, anyone got any comments on that? Who knows any more about it, or is interested to see, or, you know, has any thoughts? All right. Let's carry on to the Sony one, and we'll finish up there. So, Sony have done a co-production with Siemens, and that caught a lot of people by surprise, I think. And I'm not saying that because I know, you know, something about, I have an inside track. I'm saying that because that's what I've read, that, you know, a lot of people didn't really expect Sony to produce this product. It's got some big similarities to a few other things. Like, you can tell that the flip-up design is reminiscent of the Lynx, and the other one was the Asus GH101 back in the Windows Mixed Realities day. But you can see that it's obviously designed for an all-day device. And we were talking before about, you know, what happens to us with the convergence effect. What did you call it again, Mark? Convergence versus
accommodation. Two different ways of focusing, and one with your lens in your eye, one with the two eyes looking together, and it's never the same for all VR and AR headsets at the moment. It's always different ways of focusing, and the mind is still confused by it.
So the idea that we have this headset on for a full day, and someone would be like a CAD engineer or a making product designs, making maybe characters, rigging characters for animation somewhere in the production pipeline. You could think of probably 10 different roles where this would be a really good, solid working device. something that you wouldn't necessarily have on for 4 hours of the day, and then hopefully take a lunch break.
So we've gone for lightweight and reasonably high spec screens, I presume.
It's wireless too, so that's a new thing for, or untethered, we should say. That's something new for Sony. You'll have to excuse my funky sort of animated picture there. I just was messing around with Monster Mash, so I thought, oh, that looks fun, I'll put that in. But if we go through and just have a look at the images, and you can stay on either side of these, you'll see one of the most interesting things about this, I think, is that they've got this ring and I don't know, what would you call that shape? It's kind of like it's a pointing device, and obviously the ring has the ring is for moving, I think. The ring is kind of like a thumb joystick that we might be using now on a VR headset. And then the pointing device has some little haptics on it, but the ring is so that it can be seen, much like the ring on our Quest controllers. Now, in this one here, in this picture here, there is a conspicuous cable, and I couldn't work out if that's actually behind him in the photo or if it's definitely coming from that thing that he's holding, because in every other picture it looks like there is no cable, but I'm not 100% sure about that. But the idea is that you sort of select with this three-pointed star-looking thing. I don't even know what shape to describe, how to describe that, but the controller anyway. And then the ring is the ring moves you. You kind of use a little thumb pad on the ring to move around, and looks great. Looks fantastic in terms of simplifying the controls. Yeah, so this is a pretty interesting product. Go.
My first thought when I saw it, it's all right. All I was going to say was it reminded me a bit like a bit of similar to like the Lynx R1 headset at one point.
Yeah,
it had that kind of similarity to it in terms of the headset design. Obviously, I don't know what the lens design is, but obviously it's a mixed reality first headset. So it'd be interesting to see how good it is.
On their promo video, it was create, collaborate, and then validate was the third one. So what they're thinking of is people who regularly work with 3D models, really complex things like this product design here, right? Have a look at this handheld saw. You can imagine putting that into a production workflow. Everyone has to know exactly how to manufacture every single part. There's really high tolerances. I mean, this is just normal part of modern manufacturing. So the 3D modeling part is very, very important. Now, this is something that I guess just people from general life wouldn't understand until they had it shown to them or explained to them. And that's me. I'm in that category. I only know this because I've researched it a little bit, but the process of making the models and making sure that every part of the manufacturing is going to work before you actually lay down all that money to build the dies and make the die cuts and do the extrusion manufacturing and et cetera, it's really important. So the jobs that these people are doing, designing and then collaborating with others who are distributed workforce, across different countries, and then validating with the customer who's going to say, yeah, that's good, let's put it into production. These are all really critical points in the manufacturing process. So you can see that a product like this is really of its time.
And I'm really impressed that they've gone ahead with different accessories, different types of controllers. Because lots of people talk about having rings as controllers, but they've never really turned up. And I've never seen anything like the sort of single index finger pointer that they've got there. So I'm fascinated to see whether that catches on or whether it just works well for this particular use case.
Well, you can imagine, Mark, that it's because it doesn't have to do things like gaming, or doesn't have to do what's another kind of use case for our controllers here. It doesn't have to access 10 different types of menus, because it's really going to be focused on, probably initially going to be focused on a Siemens product. And Siemens is the obvious, big partner. I noticed that they let Siemens do the announcement. So it wasn't really a Sony announcement as such in its first instance. It was a Siemens announcement saying we've partnered with Sony to produce this. I think everyone just assumes that it's a Sony announcement, but they were definitely putting that front and center. Yeah, I love this. So this and the Apple Vision Pro, things that make me feel like, oh my gosh, the next decade is just a huge blossoming of so many interesting new jobs and so many advances in how we're doing things. Link all this stuff to AI, and every day your imagination blows up, doesn't it?
I think one of the things though, it's like there's not going to be a one headset fits all. There's headsets for different reasons. So you've got your kind of Quest potentially for gaming. You've got like the Sony stuff for fine motor control when you're looking at kind of building, CAD work, CAM work, stuff like that. And then you've got Apple Vision Pro for those kind of Mac enthusiasts who want a productivity tool. So I think that you're now kind of bringing kind of headsets for purpose, not just headsets for, oh, well, it will do everything.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if the market's ever going to be that big, unfortunately. I think it'll coalesce to maybe 2 or 3 headset styles that really take over, and then there'll be an enormous amount of fall off of some of the shift all or immersed type headsets just not being able to compete anymore.
Shiftall's got a parent company of Panasonic.
Sorry, no, carry on. Sorry,
No, well, the thing is, it's all dependent on kind of like where it is, because like Shiftall's parent company is Panasonic, so they're always throw money at it because they're one of the larger companies. You're ending up looking at people like HTC, don't really have much of a consumer kind of market anymore, but have kind of really pushed towards enterprise. And I think that it all depends on who's going to be buying them, because this is where it's like the Sony Siemens kind of one is very related to creative industries. And it all looks at kind of who is buying it in this, especially if you've got people who are, and Siemens with their history within the medical trade, that's kind of like where big push is there. So I think it's all dependent on who are buying, because consumers are one area, but enterprise is a large area.
Yeah, I was going to kind of sort of jump in a similar way with Bruce as well. It's like a product like this for enterprise most likely is an interesting product, but it definitely has to be priced competitively and actually do the job well, because you have something like I saw at CES last year, Canon had some form of mixed reality product, and the price of it on paper was outrageous for what it actually could do. It was not good, like really. And I'm an Apple fan for capturing immersive content with their hardware, but their attempt to do something mixed reality really was a missed opportunity. And hopefully Sony, maybe Siemens obviously included, have with the PSVR knowledge they hopefully have something that's more useful, shall I say.
Bruce, what you said about about HTC, then I actually find that a bit of a open question, because those products that they've just released now, like the face tracker is under $200 US. That's the price they put on their media release, and the little ultimate tracker, I think they're called, they are, I think, about 100 or 179 or something. But think about who would wear them. Like they actually, in all of their marketing videos, it's really prominently about people who are VR chat users. And I wonder how that sits with their really strong enterprise focus. They are trying to be in both worlds, I think. And then you look at something like Viveverse. Viveverse got launched in 2022, and really no one talks about it. Like we've never met in Viveverts, and you know, we've tried spatial, we've tried we were in sorry, the name slips my mind. Someone help me out. Old Space.
Yep.
I can't believe people from Old Space will be going, what? You've forgotten Old Space already?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Revenite's quite fun at the moment of a coming device, coming social platform.
Yeah, and then there has to be some interoperability as well. So I think the wider view of what you're talking about there is how far away are we from this kind of idea of bring your own device, and then you know you wouldn't come to a design job with a Chromebook. You'd come with a pretty powerful laptop, right? Even if it was BYOD. So if you knew you were going to be talking about, if you knew you were going to be working on just business meetings, you might decide that a certain type of device is actually going to be okay, and you want to fly with it and you want to pack it away. If you're going to definitely be doing design work 4 hours of the day, have your eyes in 4 hours of the day, something like this might be really appealing because it's built for comfort in those few ways.
Okay, so I hope you've got a good battery, because this Quest 3 doesn't. It's my headset's about to die, and I think we're 10 minutes over our normal time. So
yes, we are. Let's go. Let's.
Do we have any good point for questions? Otherwise, I think we probably have to wind up now.
So I just wanted. Oh no, sorry.
Oh, no question from me. I was just going to say it's just been good to jump in.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. No, I was just going to say thanks everyone for coming along, and the next one I think we'll have, Mark, we'll just have a nice casual meetup. We'll bring a few JPEGs to, you know, bits and pieces to have a look at.
We'll just bring in a few more bits of fun stuff. Get a few more folks together. But yeah, it's been good. You've been a great audience. Good questions. Thanks, guys. I'm going to drop out and plug in my headset.
Catch up with you again.
Bye now.
All right. Well,
take care.
It's the start of my working day over here in Melbourne. So while you're all getting yourselves tucked into bed, I'll be